Hey everybody, I'm Mark from Personal Combat Defense Systems. This is Bob, and this is the second video in a series on self-defense tools and self-defense weapons. This is going to be the one focused on the tools, and there's going to be two tools that we're going to look at today. One is the drink test kit, and the other one is the personal alarm. So the first thing I want to go through are the personal alarms. Now, any self-defense instructor, martial art teacher who's teaching self-defense, they're probably going to mention at some point that you want to be loud and you want to attract attention. This discourages the attacker. Now, when you use verbal commands like stay away from me, don't touch me, I told you leave me alone, and you're yelling these, there's definitely a message attached to that. You know, with kids, it can be you're not my parent, put me down, I'm not going with you. Again, you're sending a message. But an alarm in of itself is a message that there is something wrong. So these alarms are 130 decibels and they're very high pitched. They travel up to 1,000 feet at 130 decibels. So I think these are a really great thing to carry. Now, this first one right here, it's made by Mace. It's a little keychain one, and what makes this one unique from the other ones is that it has an on button and an off button. You know, this is good because you can carry it on your person all the time, and if you accidentally set it off, you can just turn around and hit the off button. This is bad because if an attacker knows about this and they take it off of you, then they can just hit the off button and then you don't have it. Usually an alarm that goes off just for a few seconds, people are very quick to disregard. The other two that I have are a pin pull, right? So what that means is there's a pin, and once you pull the pin, the alarm goes off, and the alarm is not going to stop going off until you put the pin back in. Now, it's really good to keep the alarm attached to you, attached to your purse, so the attacker doesn't take it and throw it. Also note that if you take the speaker and it's held up against your body, it's going to muffle itself and not really do the job properly, so it's not something you want to leave in your pocket. So if this is attached to you and I pull the alarm off, now the alarm is separate from me, and that's not really what I want. I prefer this one. The keychain will attach, and this string right here, this little pull, this is where the alarm is set off. This is what you want. I think that this is your best bet because it stays attached to you. This one also has a little flashlight. Now, this isn't gonna blind anybody or do you much good in that department. We are gonna have a video in the future on tactical flashlights and using them for self-defense. But it could be handy just to find, you know, your keys if it wasn't attached to your keys. And something else to note with these pull pin alarms is that, you know, the idea that you can't turn it off until you get that pin back in. So if you have this thing floating around your purse and you're digging through your purse looking for that candy bar that you snuck into the movie theater and this pin goes off, it could be pretty embarrassing, and they might catch you with the candy bar. So, you know, this might be something that you keep in a little baggie wrapped up and secured, and when you're in a situation where you're leaving work late or you're in a sketchy area or a dark parking lot, you think this is a good time to clip on my personal alarm. This seems like a time that I'm more likely to need it, and it's there and it's ready. Otherwise, if you're just gonna have it in your keychain and have it floating around kind of haphazardly, I'd go with the one that has the on and the off button. These all have batteries. Typically these batteries last a very long time. They're those little watch batteries, but you know, every once in a while you want to pull the pin, give it a test, make sure that it's good. There's a couple little screws on them. You can take them apart, figure out what type of battery it is, order them off Amazon or something for a couple bucks, and there you go, you're back in action. Now this alarm right here, this is pretty cool. It's made by Sabre. They call it the runner personal alarm. This can strap on your arm, it can strap on your wrist. Now it's attached to you. It in of itself could be a deterrent because someone might see it and go, yeah, you know, they seem prepared. They have a Sabre alarm attached to their arm. And this is the pin pull. So you can see that right there. You just pull that pin and off the alarm goes. Now, if I pull this in front of the camera, you're not going to get an accurate idea of how loud this actually is in comparison to the level of my voice. I'm going to go ahead and pull it anyway. So basically what happens there is the 130 decibels, which this is way over the sound pressure level of the microphone. So once it hits that sound pressure level, rather than get louder, it digitally clips, it distorts, and it stays stuck at a very distorted lower volume. Not only that, but audio camera, video, or for I went down into the little music studio, and I use a very high quality microphone that can handle 130 decibels. in this test, what I did was I was talking. You may not hear me talking, and I'm not you get an accurate idea of the difference between my voice and the level of the alarm, and it will be relative. Sound quieter than the rest of the video, and that is relativity to this alarm right here, which I'm going to pull the pin. So I think the personal alarms are a really good self-defense tool. You can attract a lot of attention with these. They're very loud. They can be very helpful. I highly recommend them. So the other thing we're going to look at are the drink test kits. Just to clear up a couple misconceptions with common wording is, number one is DFSA. It's an acronym and it stands for Drug Facilitated Sexual Assault. So just to be clear, just like not all sexual assaults are drug facilitated, there's a lot of other crimes that are done by drugging people's drinks. So, men have been robbed and beaten, and women have been robbed, and that's really the only goal. Sometimes people do it just as a cruel prank. So it's not always going to be a sexual assault. So don't think just because your situation is a little bit different that it's not going to happen. The other thing to look at is the term date rape drug. You don't need to be on a date, and it doesn't need to be someone you're with or even somebody you know. So you got to watch your complacency there, thinking that you're here with the girls, or you're at a party with all your friends, and that you're safe as a result, that you're not actually with somebody. So really the number one thing is don't accept drinks from strangers. Make sure you know where that drink came from. If you're out, make sure it came right from the bartender and you see this happening. Maybe you pulled it out of the cooler at a party and you're the one that opened it. Never accept a drink from somebody you don't know or don't trust and they hand it to you already opened. You have to be really careful with that. Now, I talked a little bit more about this in a video I did on prevention and awareness, but not only do you want to always be watching your drink, but you kind of want to look like you're watching your drink. Hold it in a way that says, I'm watching my drink. And most attackers of any sort, they're lazy and they don't want to get caught and they want an easy target. And if you are perceived as a difficult target, there's a good chance that that person's going to pass right over you. Now, if you're starting to feel woozy, if you're starting to feel funny and you think that you've been drugged, you want to call 911 immediately, or if you're with sober enough, trusted friends that can get you to the hospital safely, you want to go there immediately. You don't know how much of the drug they put into the drink. That versus how much that you drank can have a really big effect on you. And if you want to be tested to be sure of what's in your system, you don't want to bathe. You don't even want to wash your hands. Don't go to the bathroom. Don't change your clothes. You want to get to the hospital as you are and get a urine test as soon as possible. This is going to help medical professionals best determine what happened to you and what is in your system. So roofies is a term that we hear very common for date rape drugs, but roofies is not a generalized term. It is a specific drug and it's called ropynol. It's a benzodiazepine. It's illegal in the United States. And it usually is smuggled in from Mexico. It is all too common to find it on the streets. Outside of that, other benzodiazepines that are used for the same purpose are going to be Xanax, Klonopin, Valium. These chemicals, in my opinion, are prescribed way too often, and they are flooding the market in the streets in the United States. Benzodiazepines are pretty serious chemicals. I know that oftentimes we get prescribed something and it says do not take with alcohol, take with food, don't operate heavy machinery, and we kind of shrug it off and think it's no big deal. But benzodiazepines are no joke, and it's not uncommon for someone to take their prescribed dose and have a drink or two, and all of a sudden there's a big blank spot in their day that they don't remember. Outside of benzodiazepines, the two most commonly used drugs for this are GBH and ketamine. Now, GBH can be in and out of your system within 4 hours. So if you think that you've been drugged and you're going to get tested, you need to get there quick. On that note, if you think that you've been drugged, you want to call 911 or you want to get to the emergency room with trusted, sober friends as soon as possible. If you want to get tested to be sure, you want to do not bathe, don't pee, don't wash your hands, don't change your clothes. You want to go as you are. This is going to help medical professionals best determine what was used to drug you, how much, and any details they can find that are going to help you later on to find out what happened to you, who did it, and how you can prove it. Now the first product is this Sabre Red Drink Test Kit, and this is the first thing I found. I found it a few years ago, and I thought it was really cool. Basically, it's just these almost like very hard to open package. Here we go. It's already open too. It's like litmus paper, and there are these drink test kits. And all you're going to do is you're going to dab your finger in your drink, and you're going to dab it on each circle. Each circle represents either ketamine or GBH. And for me, that's the biggest problem with this. It doesn't test for benzodiazepines. It only tests for GBH and ketamine. I found that out after, and I thought, well, this isn't as useful because those aren't the most commonly used drugs used anyway. So you're still taking a chance and you're still taking a gamble. Some of the other factors with this are if there's any milk in the drink. I'm not real big on milky alcohol drinks, but I think like any kind of cream, like Bailey's cream, Irish stuff. This is gonna mess that. It's gonna mess with this, and it's not gonna work. If there's blue dye in your drink, it's gonna mess with this, and it's not gonna work. The other problem is it takes 5 minutes, and I can think of quite a few scenarios where you don't want to be sitting there waiting for 5 minutes to find out if your drink's been messed with or not. So there's a company called Undercover Colors, and it's based out of Charlotte, North Carolina, which is pretty cool. I used to live there, and they have a product called the Sip Chip, and you can look it up on their website. You get 3 of them. They're one-time use only. You get 3 of them for $15. Now this particular one, you get your results in 30 seconds. It's going to also test for benzodiazepines, which are probably the most common substance used. It also tests for Versed, Cerax, and Restorol, which I don't know what those are, but it tests for them. It doesn't come up positive in hot beverages. So if you're drinking a hot beverage, the Sip Chip is not going to be the answer, and it also doesn't test for ketamine. Now in both of those situations, the Sabre Drink Test Kit will work as far as ketamine and looking for ketamine or GBH inside of a hot beverage. So you can have a couple of different options. I know it's kind of a pain to do 2 different tests, but if you feel it's necessary and you have that suspicion, then I highly suggest it. Sexual assault, whether it's drug facilitated or done by other means, is an all too common problem here in the United States and across the world. I know that it's difficult to come forward, but if it happens to you, or if you even question that it was happening to you, it probably was. If you're questioning it, I encourage you to find someone to talk to, find someone to confide in, and seek authorities if you can. We definitely want to shed more light on this issue. The whole Me Too movement and all those women that were marching, I mean, that in itself speaks volumes and says that, this is a problem, it needs to stop, and you are certainly not alone. Here is the number for the National Sexual Assault Hotline. It is a good place to start if you need to reach out.